Something I talked about the other day for you guys was early on having positions that are kind of like a rest point that you know really well. It's kind of like an A position you can build off. More important than that, before you get to the position, is your ability to defend with no grips, because you can always get to no grips. If your guard defense is based off of close guard, double sleeve, X guard, worm guard, you can't always get those positions, but you can always get to no grips, okay? So one of the biggest things I see you guys struggling with sometimes is you focus on all this like leg work and framing in the hands, but is your hip getting misaligned, right? Whichever way my hip is facing, my arms and legs are naturally pointing, right? So if I want to use my legs to help recompose, well, when I'm facing the wrong way, you can get away with it if you're really mobile, but you see how it's harder for me to loop my leg in. If I just align my hip with her, now my leg naturally tracks in that direction. Same thing with my frames. If she starts coming in, I can frame and block and do stuff when my hip is aligned. But I see a lot of you guys, like we focus so much on the arms and the leg work, but this little angle being off, you'll try to do the same stuff. They start going around and then it just feels like you're drowning. And I see this happen to all the time to you guys, different people in competition, okay? So what I want to work on in the beginning is just paying attention to whichever way they go. If she walks that way a little bit, right? If she just goes here, just do that little hip swivel. Try to really pay attention to this, right? I know it's a super small thing, but a lot of guys, they just forget about that, right? So if they go that way, just a little hip swivel. See, my feet naturally can easily connect. I have access to the leg and I can realign. If she suddenly goes that way, hip swivel the other way. Okay, so I want you guys to really pay attention to that. That's something that you may think you're doing, but a lot of times when you start getting in trouble and you have that feeling they're around you, you're just pushing and pushing and you can't move, that's usually because your hip just got a little bit misaligned, okay? So we're gonna start with that as like the foundation, and then we're gonna look at some small little detail adjustments to get better at this when you get out of position. Does that make sense? Yes. Any questions? All right, let's try it. 1, 2, 3. All right, guys. So we didn't do the best. Let's look at that. Go up real quick. Okay, so just a point here that I think catches people off a lot with this. So if we start here and she just walks this way, I can naturally follow. If she walks the other way, I can naturally turn. That's fine. The real problem with this move, or the real utility in this move, is when you mess up and they get on the bad side. And of course you don't want that to happen, but it's gonna happen. You're gonna think they're going that way, somehow you mess up and you get on the wrong side. So you see in this case, she's right here and I'm facing the wrong way. Now, if she's just standing there being a nice partner, I might be able to turn back. But generally, once they get around you, some kind of force is going to be pressed into you. So we'll just do just a little bit for now. So just as a demo, it could be her whole body weight, it could be a hand on the knee, whatever. We'll talk about it more in depth a little bit later on. But just imagine there's some kind of force here, just like this. Now, turning doesn't work. I can't just turn back, right? So you have to do this hop move. That's why this matters so much. And slightly better than just trying to turn is maybe trying to jump straight up and over. But even that doesn't work, because if there's a weight here and I go up, it doesn't really help. I have to go away from her. I'm trying to make my hip travel away from her so that there's space to turn back. So right now there's a block here, right? So if I do that, you see I kick my leg out to the side. That creates just a little extra space to realign the hip. And now I can bring my knee in and start using my feet and retaining. And we use this all the time, right? We're gonna talk about it from side control in a minute, okay? So for now, we're gonna be here, same drill. There's just some kind of weight. It could be a hand, maybe she could lightly put her knee there, something so that you can't just turn. And see, I want to not go too high in the air. I wanna be as low as I can. I kick out, maybe slightly up to the side, keep this protected, and you see just that little realignment. Now I can come back. So if you think you're doing it just because you're turning back, you're not necessarily going to get it in the same way. You have to get that out to the side movement to escape from the pressure. Does that make sense? Yeah. Any questions? I'm here like this, right? So see there's some kind of pressure here like this. I'm going to kick out there. You see? I kind of kick out to the opposite side like that, and that creates a realignment. Make sense? Okay, make sure, we'll get more into this later, but make sure you're keeping your elbow knee connect. If this is wide open, they're gonna follow you when you go. This keeps a block so that it can realign. Does that make sense? All right, let's try it. 1, 2, 3. All right, so let's look at a couple more different variations of this. So now, go to both knees, almost like side control. So what's gonna happen sometimes, like you're either escaping side control or they're almost passing and you're gonna get turned away a little bit like this. So my elbow and knee are still connected, they fully can't get into side control until this elbow knee is disconnected, right? But the hard thing here is I want to like lasso or do stuff, I'm still facing the wrong way. This is a very common situation when you're escaping side or about to get past. This is another great time to do this. If I just do that, you see I realigned the knee. Now I can actually start pushing her away with the knee to lasso or go foot on hip or bring the shin in. But whenever I'm here, not only can I not turn the foot, but now I can't even use my knee to push her off. You see I'm getting folded over here. So just using that realignment there massively helps for that. And now I can start pushing with the knee, lassoing and doing everything, okay? So that's another great situation. So I want you guys to just work this one just for a minute or two. And then we're gonna start talking about when this won't work, what we're gonna do instead. Make sense? Any questions?
Does it matter if you don't have the top frame on the neck? Or
No, you don't need it. Right now, you're just protecting this. It's not about where you're pushing them. It's about, are you protecting this? So as long as this is here, they could be close, they could not be close. You're here. Another thing I do is I open this elbow a bit. I think that helps me get a pull. If this is here, it's a little bit harder to get lift. So when I have that there, it gives me like a counter pull. Make sense? All right, guys, let's try it. 1, 2, 3. A couple small cleanup details on that, just walking around watching you guys. First one is when you're here, try not to think about it in terms of like this huge turning the whole body thing. Because if you try to turn your whole body, I think you're going to end up turning nothing. It's the upper body is mainly just blocking. And what I want to do is focus on just the lower body changing, right? So back up real quick, just with no one there. If you get too into this, like, I'm going to turn everything, you're going to turn nothing, right? I'm blocking here. This is here to block. And I'm doing that just the hip turn. You see, if you just focus on that, it's going to make a huge difference and it's way faster because you don't have to use the whole body. The other thing with this kick, I saw some people out here like keep the knee really tight. It's just a quick little like flutter kick like that, okay? Another thing, the arm positioning is really important, right? You want to put your arm in this kind of weird angle like this, right? Because why? Come here. What happens is if I look like this, right, then when I turn back, I don't have a frame. Let's say even if I do turn back, I get kind of folded like this, right? Go back. So when I have my arm like this, whether I do a forward shrimp or I do a hip hop, you see how my arm is now automatically framing and I can start moving and creating space, okay? So that special arm position here like this is really important, okay? So just a detail there. Kick out, focus on just the hip turn, not the whole body. Keep your arm in that position. And now let's look at the next move, which is going to be the forward shrimp. So we're here. So now either A, they have a lot more pressure. Maybe they have their hand on this so you can't kick and they're in a little bit deeper. It's basically the same idea. I have my elbow on the floor. I'm going to put my toes on the floor. I want my knee kind of tight. And I'm just trying to swivel the hip back in so that I can start working. Okay, that's called a forward shrimp. Now, Madeline asked a really good question. She said, why wouldn't I just do that all the time? Anytime you put the foot on the floor, you're always opening your core a little bit, right? When my knee is tight, they can't be in side control. So if I overextend one leg, it automatically brings this knee out a little bit. The tighter your legs are, the tighter one leg is, the tighter the other one will be too. So ideally, I want to try to kick and do that because I don't open up too much. It's faster. If I have to, I can use the forward shrimp, okay? So one more time. We're here, I have my elbow down. I bring the foot up like this, right? And I want to drag my hip out, bring the knee in, and work from there. Make sense? All right, guys, let's give it a try, and then we'll critique it. All right, let's go. 1, 2, 3. All right, guys, couple of extra little cleanup details here. So we'll look at the forward shrimp first again. So we're here, right? Make sure when you do this, you bring your knee tight, right? If you're out here, you're not going to forward shrimp very well. I want to bring my knee tight. I have my elbow for counter support. I have the special arm position here. I bring my foot up high. And again, I want to turn my hip out and go back. And I see how this arm is already here. I'm trying to keep her around the side angle so I can start moving. If you do this, sometimes you can accidentally put yourself towards north-south. It's not the worst if you know how to defend from here, so I'm going to talk about it a little bit. So what happens here is you forward shrimp out and you end up kind of oscillating this way. So let's do that one more time. Go back. What happens is we're here, so just like inside, and then you see I brought myself more to north-south. It's okay, as long as I can keep my elbow and knee connected, I still have a lot of fight here. So she shifts up to north-south, I'm gonna get my forearms in like this. Now the trick here, I'll do another full class on this at some point. I wanna kind of oscillate to make space, and now I wanna bring one knee in. Never try to bring both knees in, because I can't get my foot in. I wanna bring one knee in. If you're less flexible, you can come back to the center, feed your foot in to escape. Sometimes here I just push up with the knee and feed the foot directly. That actually doesn't take that much mobility. You just want to push them up. So she drops her weight heavy, I push with the knee, feed the foot, and I can come out, right? The big thing is to keep your forearms in the armpit. Okay, like I said, we'll do a whole class on defending from the north-south, but right now I just want you guys to have the loose idea of it. Okay? All right, let's try it. 1, 2, 3. So once you get into the north-south position here, right, we forward shrimp out, we end up here, catch the forearms in the armpit. Don't push with the hands because your arm's gonna collapse, right? So I want the forearms. Now look, as long as I have one of my knees tight, if she drives way over me, my knee is gonna be in between me and her. So she just drives all of her weight in, it doesn't matter. I can now push with my knee, right? So you wanna keep one knee tight. What most people do wrong is they try to bring both knees in, and now neither foot can come in, then you start getting out of position. One knee in allows me to spin back and put the foot, or I can even lift with the knee and feed the foot if you have that mobility. Again, I don't think that actually takes so much mobility. It's just about pushing up with the knee. So drop your weight down to your chest. See, I push and feed and come out. Okay?
Can you grab your foot if you don't have
The hard thing with trying to grab your foot in some of these tighter positions is you need to frame. So the foot gripping is really good in like from the open to like the mid, but when they're in really deep, you can do it in certain positions, but like, let's just say we're here. If I start trying to grab my foot, I'm losing a frame. So I think here I would have to be cautious about that. You could maybe pull it in at some point, but here, so stay down with your chest, don't posture up when I lift. See, I push and I feed the foot. If they posture up suddenly here, then they're giving you space to just come out. Okay? All right, guys, partner up. Let's do some regular training.